conversation with Scott Pelley and producer Pat Milton about their 60 Minutes interview with Andrew McCabe, former acting director of the FBI.
We had good reason to consider that the president might be a threat to national security. That's why we opened the case we did.
Scott, Americans may not understand what a key role McCabe played in this whole Mueller investigation and the story that's gripping the country right now.
He started the whole thing. He personally authorized the two initial investigations of the President of the United States. And then McCabe was able to get Robert Mueller appointed, and those investigations went into the Mueller investigation. Why were you fired?
I believe that I was fired because I opened the case to investigate the President of the United States.
But that's not the stated reason.
It is not.
Whether Andrew McCabe likes it or not, he's political now.
Anyone associated with the investigations of the President and the White House becomes a political flashpoint.
Right. But that also means in our viewing audience, there are going to be people who already hate this guy and don't think he's credible even before one word airs.
Well, that's why we're trying to give him an opportunity to tell his side of the story.
The one person who has not had his say in all of this until now is Andrew McCabe.
To be pushed out of the FBI and be publicly called a liar, it's absolutely, it's been a nightmare.
Pat, how long had you been pursuing this interview with Andrew McCabe?
Well, we started talking to him right after he was fired, and he was asking us to hold off, that he would consider it. And then he decided to write a book, so that pushed it off even more. But he delivered on it and gave us the interview. It was extraordinary in the sense that for 2 years, reporters have had to rely largely on sources as to what was going on in the Russian investigation. But here we have the face and a name of the man that actually ordered the opening of the counterintelligence investigation.
When you decided to launch these two investigations, was the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, on board with that?
Absolutely. We had about 4 different meetings in which we discussed.
I want to go to these conversations between McCabe and Rosenstein. As someone who covered the White House for many years, what was your reaction hearing his descriptions, such vivid descriptions of these conversations?
Oh, it's absolutely astonishing. Imagine the Deputy Attorney General talking about how to remove the President of the United States. One of the investigations that McCabe started is a counterintelligence investigation. In other words, is the President of the United States an agent of Russia? If you put this in a movie, you would not believe it. The President says the investigations against his administration are easily explained. He's under attack by dirty cops at the FBI.
I disagree. I think I know that the investigations against the President were initiated based on solid predication. That's what we in the FBI call the facts that we're aware of that call.
You know, Pat, one of the things that impressed me about McCabe in the interview was how careful he was about what he knew, what he didn't know, and what he had overheard. He was almost as if he was testifying in a trial. He was very careful about those things.
Extraordinarily so. And with McCabe, with his background, he was known as an extraordinary briefer. Robert Mueller, we were told by our reporting, would handpick McCabe to give briefings to heads of states, to foreign dignitaries, because he was able to distill complex information and deliver it in a very understandable and insightful way.
And this was back when Mueller was the director of the FBI.
That's correct.
Did the President ever ask you how you voted?
He did. He did. In our second meeting, which was the day after Jim Comey was fired, he asked me who I'd voted for, which...
He was quoting in our interview directly the President and other people that he'd spoken to. And I asked him, how do you remember these things so well? And he said, I wrote them all down in memos.
I made memorandums to myself to make sure that I preserved my contemporaneous recollection of those interactions.
That's what FBI agents are trained to do, write memos to the file after they speak to witnesses.
That's what we're trained to do.
And I said, well, where are those memos today? And he said they've all been handed over to the special counsel.
To Robert Mueller.
To Robert Mueller.